Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Trauma Killerz Podcast with Christy and Liz. Liz and I want to break the silence of trauma and help others heal their souls. Each week, we dive deep into the roots of human trauma and how hypnosis can aid in recovery. You can also catch full episodes on our YouTube channel at Trauma Killerz Podcast. This podcast is for educational and emotional insight purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health support. Some episodes discuss topics related to SA of adults and children. We approach this with deep care, respect, and the intention to empower survivors. If this isn't the right time for you, we encourage you to pause and return when you feel safe. Your healing is your own, and it deserves to be honored. Please subscribe and share to help us keep the conversation going.
I'm going to have the glasses on for this one.
Okay.
Because I can't read.
Your eyes are so pretty blue.
Oh, thank
They
you.
really are. It's like, wow.
So
and then when you have
sweet.
your eyeliner like that,
Yeah.
it's like, that looks so pretty. And the color,
Aw,
really
thank
good.
You. So sweet. Okay. So, hi, everybody. This is Trauma Killerz Podcast, and this is our second podcast. Hopefully, you've caught our first one. If you didn't, please go back and review that. Gives you a lot of good information on why we created this podcast, what we're going to be covering, and things of that nature. So, in this podcast today, though, we're going to talk about the 12-step program and recovery from addiction. We both recently watched an episode from Melissa Tears, who is a hypnotist, and both found it extremely compelling, her take on the 12-step process and how hypnosis it can be a better option for people, and kind of what some of the pitfalls are of the 12-step program. Understanding the 12-step program works for a lot of people. We're certainly...
Sorry, do you have a pen?
Yeah, we're certainly not... Oh, maybe I don't.
I got one. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're all right.
I got one.
We certainly are not saying that you shouldn't do the 12-step program. It's just that may not appeal to some people. And so hypnosis is definitely an alternative to that. So just want to make that clear. Anything you'd like to add?
Hello, everyone. This is Liz. Been practicing QHHT since 2020 and recently took the Introspective Hypnosis course with Chris in Maryland.
Yes. And then that's when we decided to start the podcast.
Yep. Chris had this amazing idea, and I was like, sure, I'll come along for the ride.
We'll do this. So for anybody that doesn't know too much about the 12-step process, we're going to just talk about that briefly. So it originated, obviously, with Alcoholics Anonymous in the 1930s. And the process is all about basically surrendering to a higher power. So, your first step is that you have to admit your powerlessness. Then you have to believe in a higher power. Basically, right there, in a nutshell, if you are an atheist or someone who doesn't believe in a higher power, this might be a program that's a little more, difficult for you to grasp in that respect. And having been an atheist for an extremely long time, I understand that. You have to surrender your control to the higher power. Take a self-inventory, admit your faults. So again, more victimhood versus survivorhood mentality here. Prepare for change, which we should all be prepared for that at all times. You have to ask for change. So you, again, have to ask the higher power to do the work for you and forgive you versus you forgiving yourself, which in many cases is even more important. You have to list out everyone that you've harmed and be willing to make amends with them. That's another thing that can be difficult to do and can be difficult to do in person. And if the person won't allow you to have closure or apologize, that can kind of stymie your progress. Whereas with hypnosis and the being able to do role playing, you can kind of get that closure without necessarily speaking to the person. So something else that can be helpful. Then you have your ongoing inventory. Seek spiritual growth. Again, kind of going back to the whole thing that, you need to believe in a higher power. And then you need to be willing to help others. So those are the traditional 12 steps that they use in Alcoholics Anonymous, Narconon, things of that sort. So I'll let you take some.
So from victim to survivor, reframing identity.
Yep.
the traditional 12-step programs, and we're not knocking these programs. They work great for some people, and some people they don't. So maybe if this doesn't resonate with you, it's just not the episode for you, or just keep an open mind while listening. So people that are in Alcoholics Anonymous keep repeating, like, hi, I'm Liz, I'm a drug addict. And you repeat this constantly. So what you say, the words you say, are very important, because you are talking to your brain, your mind, and you're telling your mind what you want to do. So is it really helping you by admitting, for me, all right, I haven't drank and did stuff for like 15 years. I am not an alcoholic. I'm not. I have no problem being around alcohol. I have no problem not drinking it. Same with drugs. Like, it doesn't bother me. So I'm not an alcoholic. But the point I'm making is, if you're constantly telling yourself you're an alcoholic, it's always going to be a battle, then you're giving it more power. You're making it stronger.
Right. You are what you eat. You are what you say.
Yeah. And like I said, maybe this does help people because they need to admit the truth, right? So maybe in the beginning, they need to say, you know what? I'm a drug addict. It's prescription pills, but yes, I'm still taking them when I shouldn't be. I'm a drug addict. But it's not forever. Like, if you want to change, you can change. And maybe some people need more help. When I wanted to change, it was almost like I woke up that day and said, I don't want this anymore.
Right.
Got tired of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I quit drinking cold turkey.
And then she also speaks about the neuroscience insight. And I love her because she talks about neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Which is just, it makes so much sense.
And again, this is Melissa Tiers that we're talking about, in case you want to check her out online.
Is it Tiers?
It's Tiers.
Okay.
Yep.
So neuroscience insight, she's saying repetition rewires the brain, which, like we just said, if you're constantly saying, I'm an alcoholic, this will always be a problem for me. It probably will, because that's what you're telling your mind.
Yeah. Saying
I'm powerless. We are not powerless. You've changed your life. I've changed my life. I'm still working on changing things in my life. We don't need to give our power to someone else. Like, maybe you don't know the direction you want to go, so you reach out for help from your higher power, but you don't need their permission to live a better life.
Right.
And to get healing.
And you don't need their
forgiveness. You don't need their forgiveness either. There's nothing to forgive for them. Right. It's more, we need to forgive ourselves, which is an ongoing thing, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree.
What do we have here? Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I think you hit on everything.
What it's doing and how you're repeating.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the example I was going to give was, for anybody in my family or friends can tell you this. I mean, for the first 50 years of my life, I was so self-deprecating to myself. It's like every joke I made, everything like that was about me. It was about my weight. It was about, all different things, picking on myself about things. And I didn't realize how important self-talk is. And then when I went to a QHHT companion course, this woman came up to me and she was like, I just feel like I have to give you this message. I don't know why, but I feel like I need to give you this message. And I was like, okay. And she's like, she was telling me about how she went on a ayahuasca journey. And she's like, I had a conversation with my body. And she's like, it told me that it was sad because I spoke down to it all the time and I didn't appreciate it. And I was constantly making jokes about it or whatever. And she's like, we had this whole conversation and she's like, and I came out of it, feeling completely differently. And she's like, I started thanking my body every day for everything it does for me, and this and that. And she's like, and I lost 60 pounds in 2 months. And she goes, and I didn't do anything.
Wow.
But stop the self-deprecating talk and start thanking myself. And so I was like, wow, but I'm like, how am I ever going to change that? Because it was so ingrained in me. And it took probably a year, but I really started toning down. Whenever I would start to think something negative about myself, I'd stop myself and I'd, say something positive. And I'd started thanking my body every day. Like, thank you for everything you do for me. And, you keep me upright and, apologize for all the damage that I do to my body every day, I'm sure, so that self-talk can be so important. And when you're constantly telling yourself that you are a victim, and the other thing is too, you're not taking ownership. I mean, you're saying I'm an addict, but that's the only ownership you're taking. Otherwise, you're surrendering to a higher power instead of taking responsibility for the fact that, you had an addiction. Take responsibility for the addiction and then take responsibility for the recovery.
Yeah.
And start looking at yourself like, I am recovered. I survived this. Like, all these people are in recovery for years or they keep slipping backwards. I'm not slipping backwards. I got away from it. I dealt with my demons and now I'm moving on, so
in the past.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's what the introspective hypnosis, there's no labels around it. You don't have to believe in a higher power or guides or anything like that in order to have success with hypnosis. It can, like I said, that's the one thing I like about the introspective is that I said in the other podcast that you are working on this yourself. You're dealing with the trauma, you're going through it and you're resolving it and you're letting it go. And that's empowering.
So we're getting to the origin of the addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So we watched a video in our training class of where Antonio took the client to right before she started smoking cigarettes. Now, I know smoking cigarettes is a lot different from drinking alcohol or doing drugs,
right.
But just an example.
Yeah.
So he's taking you there beforehand to see, like, what was the emotional wound or what was the unmet need? What was the core belief, right? Like,
Yep.
if you grow up around people that were partying all the time and you had an aunt that did heroin, in your mind, it's like you take the DARE program in school and it's like, drugs are so bad. Oh my God, you're going to die if you do drugs. Well, wait a minute. My aunt, whom I love dearly, is a heroin addict. Maybe it's not that bad, right? Some beliefs. Yeah. Maybe it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So introspective hypnosis takes you back to that to see what happened and either change your perspective or do the healing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. What was her thing, the smoker? It was like, there was a cute guy.
It was a cute guy.
He was like, did anything happen? She's like, no. It's a shame.
Yeah, she's like, it's a shame. Yeah, he was cute. It was a shame.
That's funny. It made her feel like cool and sexy to smoke.
Yeah, right.
And went to
and then this was years and years and years later of, her smoking. Like, so,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you get a chance, definitely, I'll have to look up what episode it is, but Antonio Sangio, he's on YouTube. And I'm sure if you just look up, like, probably quit smoking or something.
I might have that.
Yeah. It's absolutely hysterical, the story that he tells while this woman is under hypnosis to get her to stop smoking. It's worth it just to hear him tell the story and get a good laugh. But it's also very impactful because at the end, when she comes out of the
96.
96. Okay. Episode 96. Check it out. But it's really funny. It's definitely a good time. So check that one out. So, yeah. So, I mean, like you said, with the introspective, it's about like getting to the core of the addiction. With my drinking, I mean, we haven't kind of explored that particular, trauma with me or whatever, or what the origin was, for that. So I definitely at some point curious to see where the drinking started. I mean, I don't think it was that I grew up in a house. My parents they drank a lot, but they weren't like drunks. But alcohol was very much a part of their daily lives and ours.
Weren't you?
Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, we're Jehovah's
I didn't think you guys.
Yeah,
drank.
They drink. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that was like, I still am not sure exactly what kind of prompted that specific addiction. I mean, I have addictive personality anyway, which is why I've never tried street drugs because I'm not going to go down that road. I mean, now that I know what I know from doing this, I'm less fearful of that, but I also don't have a desire. I don't need to try, I don't need to escape because I'm dealing with my trauma. I'm letting go of it. And so now there is no need to have these things to help satiate my, anxiety or depression or whatever. It's those things are gone now. So I don't need the mask. I don't, because that's what the alcohol was a mask. And I've told you before, my divorce, I got divorced because I stopped drinking. He didn't. And when I stopped drinking, that's when I saw everything that the drinking was masking.
Yeah. Wow.
And that it was basically that if without the alcohol, there was no relation, not that there was a great one to begin with the alcohol, but it was like, yeah, you couldn't not see all of the problems once that happens. So, that's really powerful. But, so kind of what introspective does differently. So again, you don't surrender to a God or, anything like that. Your soul and your subconscious is taking you through, sad memories that may have precipitated the addiction. So, do we have any like return to the womb stories about addiction? I don't know.
None that I can think of.
But yeah, I mean, like we could just give an example. It could be one of the processes that we can use is returning you to the womb to figure out what happened while your mother was pregnant. So if your mom was, had a lot of anxiety, was there any abuse going on? Like, what was her mindset? Did she want to be pregnant? Did she not want to be pregnant? All of these things affect you when you are in the womb. If you think about it, when you're in a room with someone, we joke around about my eldest daughter that basically the house revolves kind of around her. Like when she's in the room, everybody's energy revolves around her energy. When she's upset or mad or whatever, everybody else gets that way. And if she's upbeat and happy, everybody else is too. So if you think about how people can affect your mood just by talking to them or being in the same room with them, can you even imagine if you're you're attached to your mother, you are surviving off of her organs and energy. You guys are within the same space. And so everything that happens to her somehow affects you.
Yeah.
So, if mom's, maybe mom didn't want you, and you remember that, your soul remembers that. And so that might be the origin of your addiction because you're trying to escape the fact that you don't want to think about the fact your mom didn't want you or whatever, the trauma that comes with that. So yeah, there's just so many different techniques that, we can use to help people delve into that and get that healing that they need.
Or the trauma was a perspective, like the guy you talked about in the last video, where he went back to this life, but saw that event a different way.
Right.
Because, when you're a child, you're so emotional.
Right.
Right. You don't really see things for what they are.
Right. Well, and that's one of the sessions, I forget whose it was, but one of the sessions that we had during the training, it was, she found out like my mom didn't want me. My mom wanted to get rid of me, whatever. And it was like, well, hold on a second. And then you do a role reversal. Hey, mom, like why didn't you want the baby or whatever? And she learned that it was because she didn't think she was going to be a good mom. Like it wasn't that the baby was the problem. She had a lot of doubts and feels. Yeah, it was her limiting belief. And so it wasn't that she didn't love her child or anything like that. It was that she was gripped by a lot of fear when she was pregnant. And now after the baby was born and we actually went through the birth and she started crying when her mom was holding her. She's like, my mom's holding me. She's looking at me. She loves me. She's, smiling at me. She's telling me she loves me. She didn't remember that, but her soul remembered that mom was scared and mom didn't want me. And so, she came through the birth and then we're like, hey, and, mom, tell her how much you love her. And did you hear your mom saying how much she loves you? Yeah. She loves me, this and that, that's where the healing, really kind of comes from. And so her perspective was changed. She thought mom didn't want her and that was all her fault. And I ruined mom's life. That was the other thing. It was a big, like, oh, I ruined my mom's life, whatever. And it was like, No, mom was just scared. And that's a fear. That's the other great thing about returning to the womb, is that you, at the end of that session or the end of that technique, you give the emotions that you're carrying that were mom's, because you will continue to carry that. You give it back to mom. So
they don't belong to you in the first
they
place.
don't belong to you. These emotions don't belong to you. You give them back to mom. And so that's something else
that's such a powerful technique.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, so powerful.
And to watch the people just like, and wasn't it, I think it was Linda, was like, we get a text message like a couple days after the class, and she's like, I had like she went through a session, found out a lot about issues that she was having with her mother, found out like the origin of them, and then was like, when she left class, like her mom called her or she had a conversation with her, like things had completely changed, yet she hadn't talked to her mother yet about what the session was or anything like that, because I don't even know that they talked that much.
Right.
It was something weird. And she was all like, I had a conversation with my mom, and it was like a normal conversation. And it's kind of like nothing had changed except her having done that hypnosis session and her finding out that information. And whether people choose to believe it or not, you don't have to get the healing.
Right.
But if you believe it, the subconscious, we have a collective subconscious, especially with those that are in our family that, you know, we're related to, or they might even just be your soul family or whatever. But the collective consciousness is right here. It's like right above us or around us. And so you don't need to necessarily have a conversation with somebody, to have a conversation with their soul, or to have.
You don't need to be physically present.
Right. And you don't
We are all
physically need to
spirit.
talk to them.
Yeah.
You could be like, I'm going to apologize. Like, I've done in my sessions too, where like, and you and I did it, where I forgave my ex-husband because it was like, I realized in the past life, I had been a tormentor to him. And so now he's in this life with me, tormenting me. And I was just like, oh, okay. And I mean, we find that out in a lot of sessions with people, I feel, get healing from. Not that it's every session, but you might have had an SA at some point, and then you find out that in a past life, you were the assaulter. So then it puts it into a different perspective, like, oh my God, or even as much as I think one of our classmates was taking care of a sick relative, and that relative was like completely belligerent and, you know, mean to them and everything like that, but they still were taking care of them. But this person was totally mean to them, and then found out that the roles had been reversed in a prior life. And so now you're just role reversing, and you're getting what you gave.
Karma brings
Karma.
balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, so I think that that's a lot of the healing, but to know that now, granted, you know, I had forgiven my ex-husband, and I was like, hey, if I release him from this karmic contract, and if he wants to now be a good person and be a good person to his kids, he's free to do that. He no longer has to fulfill this part of the contract and be a complete ass. And I gave it back to him. Now he can do with it what he wants. Right. Obviously, he's not doing anything with it, but I at least released him.
So it's not affecting you anymore.
Exactly. And in the same thing with Linda, it sounds like whatever happened during her session, when she did the role reversal or whatever she did with mom's soul also healed in some respects, or at least got some understanding.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, how do you explain all of a sudden?
It's sometimes with the role change, it's them realizing the damage they cause someone else. Right.
Right.
And that alone is huge.
Right.
Because then that anger you had towards this person, maybe your child or whoever, is released. It's like, why am I doing this to them?
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel the way I used to feel.
Yeah.
Because it's taking back the energy.
Right. And a lot of the role reversals I've seen too, you know, it's like you explain, like you're like, Mom, why are you treating her like this? Like, why I had
it worse than this.
Yeah, exactly.
And how did you feel?
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah. Because, you know,
and then like their demeanor changes. and they'll start crying, or they're kind of shocked. Like, no one ever asked. I never thought about that. And then it's different.
Yeah.
And then they realize, and sometimes, a lot of times they'll start crying.
Yep.
Not all of them.
No. Some of them
But
are
they'll
like,
start
yeah,
crying.
whatever.
And then it's forgiveness. Forgiveness is powerful.
And that's the thing too, is even if, like, you know, we say that you don't have to believe necessarily in this stuff for it to work. So if you don't believe that, you know, our universal subconscious is right here and that you can talk to you can role reverse and talk to other people's souls and things like that, you don't have to believe that. Our brains are incredible computers. The whole reason that we struggle with trauma is because our brains try to protect us. They will lock it away. They'll put it somewhere till we're ready to deal with it. And that's not, you know, it's just kind of the way that the brain works. And now I forget where I was going with that. Where was I going with that?
Where were you going with that?
Yeah, who knows? I was going somewhere with it. Couldn't have been that important. See what I mean? Brain. But yeah, anyway, so it's the role reversal. How you don't have to believe in the role reversal. Your brain can process it like differently. Like, I know some therapists are like, you know, a lot of people are into journaling.
Mm-hmm.
That's what journaling is. Like, journaling is almost like getting it out of your head, so to speak. Like, and because that's a release. And like, I know a lot of therapists will be like, if you want closure on something and you're like, this person's never going to give me closure. They're like, okay, write them a letter, write them an email, and write down everything you want to say to this person as if you're saying it to them.
Yeah.
And then put it away. But at least release it. So even if you don't believe, and even if we're not actually talking to the other person's soul or whatever, and hearing the truth of what it is, in your head, it might be coming through your filter, so to speak. Like if it's, you know, oh, well, I think my mom was probably feeling this way. It's still powerful enough to kind of give you some guidance or to give you some closure on it.
Yeah, because it's rewire. In some instances, you're rewiring the brain, but in some, that's what the emotion needed.
Yeah, exactly.
To heal.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, even if it didn't.
It doesn't matter.
Just one quick note on that. The fascinating thing is when you role change, I would say 9 times out of 10, the person changes sometimes their voice, their whole demeanor.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like,
and they know the answer right away. They're not like, oh, I don't know. Boom,
yeah.
it's right there.
Oh, yeah. They're right there. The answer.
The
yeah.
sternness, whatever it is.
Or she did this or she did that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's like all nastiness. Now, yeah, that's always really fascinating. And then you're like, okay, switch again. And it's like, they're back. Like they'll be bawling their eyes out 1 minute. And you're like, switch. I want to talk to mom. And all of a sudden it's like, Mom, what's going on? Well, she did that. And you're like,
she's always starting problems.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then you're like, okay, switch back. And then the person starts bawling their eyes out again. So it's just, you know, it's crazy, but it's crazy effective.
I think that session where I saw role change is what got me here.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to time out real quick.
Okay.
We're a little off topic. Do you think that's okay? Because I was like, maybe we should do should be a role change episode.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
That is an episode I did.
Right.
I did a script for one.
Let's do it. You want to finish this one up? We can always go back and take things, like if it got too far away.
Yeah, I can put it into other podcasts. But, so
let me pick back up.
Okay.
Is it going to be hard for you to edit these?
No.
Okay. So you're not broken. You are rewiring. Melissa Tier, her philosophy is you're not broken, you're neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity, Joe Dispenza says it. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So it's like when you learn something new, if you learn a new skill, you can learn anything. I wish I believed this when I was a child, because I didn't think I could be a musician. I didn't think I could be an artist. I didn't think I could be all these things. And I've now learned, I think it's one of my lessons in life. You just got to keep doing it because your brain will wire together.
Yeah.
And then you understand it, or you figure it out, or you have the muscle memory.
Right, exactly.
So what she's basically saying is the brain can change. Identity is flexible. It's not fixed. So you're not going to be an alcoholic. You don't have to be an alcoholic.
Right.
Right.
And
I don't view myself as an alcoholic. I used to be.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
I used to have problems with prescription pills.
Right.
I don't know. I just didn't want it anymore. And the fascinating thing is when you become sober, I'm not talking about a weekend, a week, 2 weeks. When you get sober months, the revelations you start to get are amazing. I would say, why was I believing this? No one ever told me this. Where did this belief come from? Why did I think XYZ? I can't think of anything specific, but I mean, it was revelation after revelation.
Yeah. Well, not only that, when you clear up your addiction, then you start, at least for me, it was like the shame of what I did when I was addicted. Like, oh my God, what did I do? Like,
like when you're in it, it's like, whatever.
Right.
And then you get out of it, it's like, oh
crap. Yeah, exactly. Like, what did I do?
For me, it was like, oh my God, look at how I treated people. That's terrible.
Right.
That is absolutely
terrible. Was more so how I treated myself.
Oh yeah. That's number one.
The abuse I put myself through.
That's what I say. Like, once I got to a certain year as a teenager, nobody did anything to hurt me.
Yeah, you did it all. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did it all.
Yeah, absolutely. We're our own worst enemies. Yeah, I mean, and like you said too, like I don't, when I tell people, I don't say, oh, I'm a recovering, I'm like, I used to be an alcoholic.
Right.
I'm not anymore. And actually I can have a drink. I can have a drink. Sometimes I want a drink. I'll have one. And then I'll either get halfway through it or I'll be like, yeah, why did I do this? Like, I didn't really need it.
I'm curious. I wonder if there's anyone listening that the steps in the 12-step program help them and why. I'm just curious why. I'm not saying it doesn't work.
Oh yeah.
Different. But how does it help you? I'm just really curious.
Well, I think what it is too is, especially for people who do have a foundation in spiritualism and are, like they do believe in God, they believe in the higher power, whatever. For them, I feel like so much of religion is about surrendering your power.
Yeah.
You have no control over this. You need to get forgiveness from from this other higher power. You need this, you need that. And morals don't come out of religion. I love people that are like, oh, well, if we didn't have religion, we wouldn't have any moral. No. I'm not religious. I was brought up as Jehovah's Witness. I believe absolutely nothing of that. I used to be an atheist. Now I'm an agnostic. But I believe in a higher source, but I don't believe in a God. I don't believe in a religious God. And I certainly did not get any of my moral character from a religion.
Yeah.
It's ingrained in us. And, I just feel like if you're someone that needs to believe in something bigger than you, then the 12-step program is probably successful. And
maybe that's what it is for you. The whole 12 steps is a step.
Yeah, is it?
Getting you to the next point.
Right. So, but if the 12 steps isn't for you, then hypnosis is definitely an alternative.
Yeah. Give it a try because you're bypassing the conscious mind to get into the subconscious, which has all the programs and the wiring and it holds the core of your beliefs and why you believe this. So this is why you act this certain way.
Right.
And then also once the trauma has been acknowledged and released, so healed, then the addiction weakens because you don't need it anymore.
Yeah,
make yourself numb or make yourself popular, like whatever the thing may be. It's so many different things for so many people.
Yeah, the trigger's not there anymore. Oh,
and then should I go on to the next segment?
Sure.
So, people are saying that the 12-step program saved me, and that's valid. It's not about replacing the 12-step program. Like maybe you have connections with the people. I have people that come see me that have said that they're in the 12-step program and they have connections. We need that as humans, right? And I'm thinking of men, actually. The men, I've had a couple of men come see me that do the 12-step program. And I feel like women, the connection is like, there's so much taboo stuff with men and their feelings and their emotions. But anyway, it's not replacing the 12 steps. It's just offering more options.
Right.
Because why not? Why fight with it your whole life when you can do a hypnosis session? Listen, we are just getting into introspective hypnosis. So we have people that are offering discounted or even free sessions right now, depending on when you're listening to this. So reach out to us. If you don't like us, you don't like my voice, you don't like Chris's beautiful blue eyes, what the hell's wrong with you? If there's something about us that you don't like, but you want to try someone, we have 19 other people that we can refer you to.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're planning on having them all on too, so you guys can meet them and see what they do too.
Yeah, give it a try. Like open your mind and your heart to different possibilities.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think so.
And that's why I said to you, some woman came to me because she wanted her son or help her nephew quit smoking. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of not what I do. But I was like, we probably would touch on that in a session, because if that's something he truly wants to stop doing, then it'll probably come up and then we can work on it through the session. But I'm like, but getting somebody to quit smoking isn't really what this is for. Now I know how to do that. So now I'm like, cool, I can call her up.
I want to put something out on my YouTube channel. I have 2 YouTube channels, one existing, one that's going to be existing soon. Mm-hmm. And I want to work with a couple of people. So I'm going to offer some free sessions, people that want to quit smoking.
Yep.
To get practice with that. Yeah. So isn't that great?
Yeah.
We learned so much.
Absolutely. And we just want to share it. That's the other thing,
So what Melissa Tier is kind of saying is that hypnosis is grounded in neuroscience, right? I'm just reading off the paper.
That's okay. You can read. That's why I made an outline. So
okay. Is there anything that we're missing that we should touch on?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, that's her thing too. Yeah, like you're not broken, you're not powerless, you're not unfixable. And again, I think it all goes back to victimhood versus survivorhood. You're making yourself a victim.
And that's getting you nowhere. Any type of victim. I have a problem with being a victim. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just give you straight up and honest with you. Even after I stopped partying and drinking and stuff, I would notice, like, why am I always giving people a sad story? Why am I doing that?
Right.
What am I trying? And then I really had to go in and look at myself. That's where meditations help. So sometimes if I fall back into a certain mood, I'm like, you're doing it again.
Yeah.
You're not a victim.
Right.
Maybe I still need some rewiring done.
Probably.
With that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all, it's an ongoing thing too, and that's the other thing too, is like once you deal with one aspect and you clear one thing, you'll notice all of a sudden maybe something else comes up that's not as bad. Like with me, like when I was doing the Ho'oponopono for a while, it was like I would clear out a lot of things, and then all of a sudden I'd remember something from like on the playground when I was like 10 years old, and I'm like, why on earth am I thinking about that? But 10-year-old me is still bothered by that. Mm-hmm. And it needs to be cleared. It needs to be settled and recovered from, or else it's going to keep coming up. And so I think that the heavier things that I had to deal with, once I cleared them out, then all the little things start coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's crazy. So let's say anything else we got to touch on here.
You can heal.
No, absolutely.
I'm going to tell you, I didn't think I could ever get better, but there was a part of me that was holding on to it because I was scared to not have alcohol. I did not think life was going to be fun. Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to be so boring. And once I got sober, and like, again, I'm saying like 6 months to a year, I just was like, life, to feel it, to really feel it, that numbness that I loved so much. Mm-hmm. Because that's what it was. I wanted to make myself numb so I could go back to all these memories and not feel it. But you can recover.
Yeah. And I think too, like, talking about, and granted, this is addiction. It's different, but not really. Antidepressants. I spent years on antidepressants, completely numb, no emotions whatsoever, never cried, nothing. And it was like I was dead. Mm-hmm. So I was getting through life, but I had very little emotions, good or bad. And then it was like, then you get off of them and you're like, oh, wow. Crap. Like, this is what it really feels like. And then it's like, oh, all right, I got to get back on the antidepressants. No, I'm going to fix this.
Yeah, it's going through.
It's like masking it.
People, and even hypnosis, that are helping you get through the emotions. It's kind of like navigating, and it's okay to feel them.
Avoiding it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's all it is. Taking the medications and all is avoiding it. So I finally since I've been able to get healing through this process and everything, I've been off my antidepressants and stuff like that for like probably almost 2 years now.
Oh,
so
great.
it's, and it's because I've
explored other options.
Well, no, I've cleared it up. I don't have the whole point of the masking was because the memories kept coming back. And like I said, I would shut them down.
Yeah.
And they would just keep coming back. So the medication kept those thoughts at bay. My biggest thing was when I went on antidepressants, I didn't realize how much I talked to myself. The conversations in my head, I didn't even realize how often I was having them till the drug stopped them. And then all of a sudden I was like, why is it so quiet in my head? Like, this is weird. I'm usually like finishing a conversation with somebody that I didn't get to finish, or anticipating having an argument with somebody. And this is everything that I'm going to say in that argument, and like planning out things. And I, just all this stuff going on in my head the whole time. And then I take the medication and it's like, whoop, silence. And it's like, okay, well, that was relieving for a while, but there was a reason I was doing all that self-talk in my head. There were traumas that needed to be dealt with.
Right.
And once I dealt with those traumas, I don't have that problem anymore. So, yeah.
That's great.
That's the important thing is, like you said, you need to feel to heal. So we need to feel the emotion. You need to go through the events, find the origin.
I was going to say, what better time than now?
Yeah.
Most of the people I see in QHHC are over 50, right? You too? Or the people you see would be
Yeah, I would say,
And I've had people say to me, we'll talk about something like, did you know that? I'm like, yeah, I kind of learned that lesson. Like, wow, if I could have learned it at 38 or 44, whatever, versus 76,
right?
How different my life could have been. Because the trauma is never going to go away until you deal with it. It's always going to haunt you. And I think that's a lot of reason people have midlife crisis. I know they say midlife crisis, people buy themselves like a
sports car
or something, but I think it's more like that's not the way your life's supposed to be going. And all these things you've been pushing away because you're raising your kids and you're focusing on your marriage, and then boom, it's going to come and hit you. So get into it now.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, granted, not everybody has kids, but the kids are the focus. And then, so many couples get divorced after the kids leave the house. Because they have nothing to talk about anymore. They have nothing in common. They've drifted apart because of the fact that they focus so much on the kids that there was really no marriage left anymore. But yeah, it's when you get to that point in your life and you don't have all those distractions is when the trauma starts to come up. And that's because your brain's like, hey, all right, we can start dealing with some of this stuff because we got some time. Now. So exactly. Whereas if you had dealt with it earlier on, you actually may have had a much nicer time, all those years that you were, potentially pushing it down and everything, you could have gotten rid of it then. So yeah, doing it sooner rather than later is, there's never a good, all times are a good time. There's never a bad time to do it. Is the takeaway for that.
Great.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think in the show comments, because I'm generally interested and curious to see if you practice the 12 steps and how it's helped you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this isn't a judgment. We're not saying it doesn't work.
Nope.
It's dumb. It's just a different perspective on things, just like food for thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, giving everybody an option, because I worry about those atheists out there because, like with me, it was like, I can't surrender to a higher power. I don't believe in one. Right. So what's next? Who am I then? Because then you almost feel like, well, then I'm a failure now because I don't believe in a higher power. I don't have anything to surrender to. So how do I get rid of my addiction?
Yeah.
No, there are other options for ways of doing it. But thanks so much for everybody for joining us. Please check out our other podcasts. And like Liz said, let us know in the notes how you think we're doing. And if there's any topics related to hypnosis, trauma, things like that you would like us to delve into, please feel free to give us some suggestions. We are open to it.
Thanks guys. So do you